Yeah, so you just use your shoulders to hold the bar instead of your arms. Yeah, my elbow pain cleared right up over like maybe a week or two. Nice, nice. I bet you're pretty excited to squat today then, right? What? Squat today? I just figured like, since your elbows didn't hurt, maybe squatting is not so bad.
Back down! Back down there!
Still one night of flag over. There's still one on the deck down there. Over the gunships. I say, hold on to it.
Hold your orbit. Guns, pull off. We're trying to come around my side.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Adam Fangman, and I'm a starting strength coach based in Seattle. And in this video, I'm going to talk about common squat errors and what you can do to fix them. So let's hop right in and set up the first rep. Once you've got the bar in the right position on your shoulders, take a big breath, stand up, take a step back, and set your stance. Before you step back, make sure you and the bar are balanced and under control. Do not try to unrack the bar and step back into your stance all at the same time. Deliberately make it controlled and robotic. Stand, balance, step back, set stance. Once your stance is set, stand up and focus on a point on the floor about 6 feet in front of you. One thing that can complicate this is not standing up all the way. Do not lean forward at the waist and overextend your knees so that your shins pull back at an angle. Instead, fully extend your hips so they're stacked under your shoulders and you're standing up all the way. If you're hunching forward at the top because you're afraid the bar will slide off your back, then you need to rack the bar and narrow your grip to create a beefier meat shelf that allows you to hold the bar confidently, not comfortably. If you're squeezing your knees back too hard, let them unlock a little so you feel more tension in your quads and your shins are vertical. You can simplify this by thinking stand tall and loading your toes a little more. Your toes and heels should be evenly loaded. As you stand and fixate on your focal point, pay attention to the balance in your feet between your heels and your toes. If you notice more pressure in your toes, gently lean back and match the pressure in your heels. If you notice more pressure in your heels, gently lean forward and match the tension in your toes. Your entire foot should be evenly balanced, and you can think about this as getting heavy in your feet. Now you are evenly balanced, and you must maintain this the entire set as you descend and drive back up. Now you're ready to squat. Take and hold a big breath and descend by bending your knees and sliding them out and over your toes, sitting straight back and letting your chest bend forward and down at the floor. Do not separate these aspects of the movement. Bending your knees but not sitting back will put your balance on your toes, and bending over while not letting your knees bend will put you in a squat morning position on your heels. You must unlock your hips and knees at the same time and maintain balance. You can demonstrate this feeling by jumping in place and noticing that you reflexively unlock both simultaneously on the downstroke. A point I want to emphasize is how aggressively you need to sit back and bend over. Your hips need to move straight back as you initiate descent, not straight down. Sitting straight back requires the chest to point down to accommodate the hips' lateral movement. Do not try keeping your torso upright as you sit back like you're trying to squat with an exaggerated low back arch. If you notice this happening, brace your stomach harder like you're taking a gut punch and point your sternum at the floor more than you want. Exaggerate it. Sitting straight down and bending over will put you out over your toes. You'll notice your heels pop up and your ability to drive into the floor diminish as you fight to keep from falling forward. Because there are so many moving parts happening at the same time, it can be difficult to get all of these aspects of the movement correct if you're squatting fast. Squat in slow motion and pay attention to your balance. Favoring your toes generally means you're too upright and have too much of your body shifting forward. Favoring your heels suggests there's too much of you behind the bar and you're too bent over. Go slow as you descend and you'll have an easier time making adjustments during the rep. If you descend and you notice general balance issues, make sure your eyes are fixated on a specific focal point on the floor in front of you and not zoning out of focus. It should be mentioned that your focal point should not be straight down between your legs, but rather out on the floor in front of you so that you maintain a normal neck position as you drive up. If you find yourself doing a squat morning out of the bottom, you may need to raise your focal point and your head to keep your chest up during the drive phase. The squat is correctly executed when the hips dip just below the knees. You can judge this by imagining a straight line running parallel to the floor that starts at the top of the patella and setting the apex of your hip crease just below that line. This is what is called just below parallel, and going excessively deeper than this requires relaxing the legs and back to achieve the position. This loss of tension to achieve maximum depth forces the hips to their lowest position and pushes the shins and knees forward and the torso upright. This causes your balance to shift forward onto your toes and loses the tension in the muscles that must be rapidly regained to finish the rep. Some lifters get very good at quickly dive bombing their squat and bouncing off their knees and legs to rebound back up. Though heavy weights can be lifted like this, we prefer to bias as much of the lift towards maintaining contractile tension and balance to move the load rather than bouncing off our knees and legs to launch the bar back up. This is similar to bouncing the bar off of the rib cage in the bench press. If you notice your knees or balance shifting forward as your hips get below parallel, there are a few things to try. You may be going too deep. Cut your depth off sooner if you're burying your squat so much that it forces your knees and balance forward. If sliding forward onto your toes persists, actively hold your knees back. You may need to emphasize bending over a second time as your hips approach the level of your knees so that you stay balanced. Exaggerate bending over at the bottom like you're trying to make your torso parallel to the floor. Another tool you can use is a tubo to block the forward travel of the knees. If you still feel like you're sliding onto your toes at the bottom, review how you set up and initiate your squat. Were you in balance at the top? Did you sit back and bend over enough at the start to stay balanced at the bottom? If you've done both and you're still struggling to stay evenly balanced in your feet, try keeping your toes up as your hips go below your knees. If you continue having difficulties, try using pause squats to force yourself to spend more time feeling for the correct balance, and consider reaching out to a starting strength coach for assistance. As you drive back up, lead with your hips while staying balanced. Keep in mind that too much emphasis on the hip drive can cause a squat morning to occur, where the knees and hips shoot back but the bar doesn't drive up. This form of posterior drive opens the knees without contributing much to moving the weight. This leaves the hips more closed in a good morning style position with less help from the quads to finish the lift, while the hip extensors must now overcome more range of motion and more moment to finish the movement. If you're noticing this, emphasize holding your knees forward and driving your shoulders through the bar as you rebound back up. The opposite of the squat morning error is to lift your chest too early. Emphasize driving your butt up like you're trying to squat morning to find the right balance between hip drive and shoulder drive. You can also think about keeping your chest pointed down at the floor longer than you want on the ride back up. This particular error may require you to review your descent to make sure you're not coming down on your toes and forcing yourself into this vertical torso position. Slowing down will also give you more time to stay balanced and figure out how to use your hips. When you finish the rep, take a moment to stand up tall and evenly balanced before you go back down again. Do not rush into the next rep before you've gotten under control. So if these fixes helped your squat at all, let us know. Or if you know someone that might benefit from some of this stuff, send this video to them. And if you hated this video for any reason, send it to your enemies and I'll waste their time. Thanks for watching.
How'd that feel?